Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community, and now Ethereum as well. My name's Wack. Today is April 24th, and today's episode on the Rocket Pool side is going to cover a new version of the smart node that's ready for the Pectra upgrade. We're going to be talking about some governance stuff, rETH strategies, that's some really good returns there. On staking news, we're going to be talking about NodeSet quite a lot. And on the Ethereum side, we're going to be talking about a little bit of spiciness coming out of the All Devs call today. We're going to be talking about what it means to be an L2 and how Ethereum L2s actually are. We're going to be talking about blob burning and a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So we're going to start here with a new version of the smart node, and this is version 1.15.5, and this is getting ready for all clients to update to Pectra, which is taking place on May 7th at 6:05 a.m. Eastern time. And it says all node operators need to upgrade or manually update their clients before the fork, and this has got updates for Geth, Nethermind, Bisu, Lighthouse, Prism, Teku, Lodestar, Nimbus, rETH, and MEV Boost. There's some smart node changes as well, like relay addresses and increased look back window on script checks. And to follow, to install it, you just follow the instructions. So this is really nice, straightforward update, getting ready for Pectra. I do expect there to be at least one, maybe two more versions of the smart node coming out before Pectra upgrade. That's just because of last minute optimizations, minor bug fixes, all that kind of stuff that happens with the clients leading up to that, and it just makes sense for the team to kind of throw it into a smart node version. Like even if there's just one execution client or one or two consensus clients that update, it just makes sense to do that. I don't see a rETH. Oh yeah, there is a rETH update as well. So yeah, it's looking good right now. It's looking kind of straightforward. Update your smart node, get ready for Pectra. You're all set. Okay, we had an update here on the oDAO proposal. So this was actually stuck at 2 votes for about a week, and we were like, is anyone going to vote on this? And it looks like a whole lot of people have started voting on this. These are the 2 oDAO votes, Proposal 18 and Proposal 19. These are to kick out the 2 of the Rocket Pool oDAO seats. This is to remove Rocket Pool 2 and Rocket Pool 3. There'll be another one after this finishes in 6 days to remove the Gitcoin from the oDAO as well. If we have a look at the event style, we can see who has voted on this already, and we see that it was Rocket Pool 1 was a more recent vote, and then basically the team Rocket Pool 2 voted, Rocket Pool 3 voted, Rocket Pool T voted as well. After the team, we had Sassel voted as well, and we had Gitcoin voting as well, and so far that's it. So we just need one more vote to reach quorum on this vote to kick out the 2 of the Rocket Pool oDAO seats, and then of course next we will do it again to remove one of the Gitcoin seats, and then that will actually put us at the target amount of oDAO seats that the PDAO wants, which we think is like secure enough. And once that's done, then we can have a look at what the state of the oDAO is, and how each member is or isn't pulling their weight and being active and online when they're supposed to be. So yeah, this is really cool that this is happening, and it just brings it in line with what the PDAO wants, which is of course good. Okay, there are a couple of rETH strategies that we can talk about here, and one of them is here from Factify, kind of shared this information. They said a complete guide to rETH DeFi strategies to boost your Rocket Pool yields. So TLDR is swap your idle ETH to rETH for native yields, lend rETH and continue earning staking yields, borrow against rETH for levered yields and carry trades, and get fixed rETH returns via yield tokenization. So this is all with Factify. You can go and do this. There's a Medium post where you can read about what they're saying, but of course, do your own research. I've personally not used Factify before, so I don't know how it all works, but it looks like there's a bunch of stuff that you can do through their platform with rETH, which of course I love to see. Okay, and we have another rETH strategy here as well. This is with Hermes, and they're saying that they've got a new strategy here, and this is Rocket Pool's rETH cross-chain gauge on Hermes is currently offering around 20% APR, as seen with a $2,000 deposit within the minimum range. So if you are making some deposits, there's a chance that you could get some nice yields with Hermes here as well. Again, this is a DeFi protocol. This is part of oDAO. So this isn't a project that I've dealt with used in the past. So please keep that in mind. But it's looking like there's good yields to be had out there with rETH, which of course is really, really good to see. Okay, next we have a new channel that has been created in the Rocket Pool Discord, and this is events for Hoodi. Hoodi, of course, is the latest testnet after Haleshki is basically being wound down and deprecated, and this is because Rocket Pool has been launched on Hoodi, and here you can have a look at all the different things that are happening on Hoodi. So this gives you, bootstrap settings. It gives you updates on well, at the moment, just lots and lots of bootstrap settings with things being modified. But I think, yeah, it gives you information about validators being created. It tells you about oDAO members added, which is kind of cool, I think. Yeah, member added, which is nice. And then it gives you a whole lot more information as well about what's going on with on Hoodi, on Rocket Pool on Hoodi. And here there's been some deposits of ETH to get mint rETH, and this is actually really cool to see that this is happening, because we needed Hoodi to be live and up and running in order to start DevNet 2 and DevNet 3, and it looks like this is, there's literally thousands of transactions here. I'm scrolling really fast and I've still not reached the bottom. And there you go, I've just going to the bottom. So currently the pool balance is 367 ETH, which is enough for 15 validators, and there's enough space for 17,632 ETH. So if you want to play around with Rocket Pool on Hoodi, we'll need this to do the DevNet. So there'll be a shadow fork, I guess, of Rocket Pool, and then you can use DevNet 2. Hopefully that should be launching soon. I really had expected it to launch by now. We're technically 3.5 weeks late now. The team was saying that we were about 3 weeks late, but it looks like we're a little bit more late than that now. I don't expect them to launch it today, which will on Thursday night in the US is Friday in Australia. So the soonest I think we'll get it is Sunday. But even then, I haven't really seen any indication that it's ready to go for DevNet 2. Ideally, they'd just merge DevNet 2 and DevNet 3 into one and get it out next week. But I don't know how close to being ready for that they are. But if you want to follow along with what's happening on Hoodi, you can now go and check this new channel on the Discord. Okay, let's move on to some staking news now, and there's a whole lot of news coming out of NodeSet. So here there's an update from Joe saying that if you are a NodeSet node operator, they have a new version of Hyperdrive, which is 1.2.0, and you can use this on mainnet. There are two important releases in this. First, it has all the clients for Pectra, just like the smart node does. And it says second, as with beta 1, this introduces support for the new Stakewise v3 vaults, which there's information about if you click it. So if you are a node operator, you can now start generating keys and getting ready for that. There's some more information I'm going to be talking about in a second, but there's some commands here that you can run, like generating keys, and you can use those for deposits, and the rest of the process is available there as well. So this is pretty cool. They want all node operators to be updated to this version minimum. This version will probably, just like with the smart node, we'll probably get 1 or 2 more versions coming out before Pectra. I think it's possible that we will be getting 1.2.1 or 1.2.2 potentially before Pectra goes live. So that's cool. Thanks, Joe, for that. Here there was it's an update from Wanda about what's happening with the Stakewise vault there, and it says that the Stakewise private vault is now online and assets have started coming in. That they're expecting more assets, I guess, through the end of this week and over the next 6 months. So it says they're holding a community call, which was held yesterday, and they said, come and join us. If you have a look at the vault now, just have a quick glance. There's 100 ETH in there, so there's not much in there right now, and that was deposited a couple of days ago. So I think they're just getting everything lined up to get those deposits of ETH going. Here there was some talk, actually, we'll come back to that in a second. So these are some notes that were taken during the community call, and there's wind down of Constellation. So it says Constellation is being shut down due to limited growth potential and liquidity issues. Gravita could not support the on-demand liquidity depositors needed. Rocket Pool's last-minute changes complicated the economic viability of exits, and despite this, Constellation validated the viability of NodeSet staking model and built interest from investors and depositors. The transition to Stakewise, so the reason why they're doing it, there's tax-advantaged LST minting, loan-to-value model with the boost feature that has in there. There's integration with Aave for leveraged staking and USDC borrowing, asset isolation for compliance-sensitive customers, and on-demand liquidity and enforced exit mechanisms. And then they have NodeSet strategy moving forward. So they're targeting high net worth individuals, family offices, institutions with strict performance liquidity needs, expecting hundreds of thousands of ETH to enter private and public Stakewise vaults. And that's over the course of about 6 months. So they're focusing on additional partnerships such as yield-bearing stablecoin integrations. They have additional goals such as broaden ETH utility in traditional finance, which is, I think they mentioned that they've talked to Etherealize, so they might be kind of pitching their service to Etherealize as well. Operational updates, validators are onboarding slowly with scaling expected over 6 months. Node operator activity coordinated via Discord. Keys should be prepped in advance, so you can go and run those keys now. You can check Joe's update for 1.2.0 to tell you how to run those keys. And then Stakewise is significantly cheaper in gas and operational cost versus Constellation, and public vault support pending technical updates from Stakewise as well. With Hyperdrive version 2, there's an update on that, so they'll have modular upgrade to allow easy integrations with external protocols. The aim is decentralized plugin support, faster deployment, and reduce NodeSet bottlenecks. And basically, if someone wants to integrate with NodeSet, they can create a plugin as well, and they can just run it on Hyperdrive, kind of like the Graffiti Wall add-on was put on the Smart Node. And then there's open source with planned REST API and eventual GUI, which is kind of cool. With node operator considerations, no ETH bond needed for Stakewise, like that 1 ETH that was needed for Rocket Pool. Automations for downtime alerts and validator performance tracking are in development. Future potential plans like operator leaderboards, reward raffles, tiered access, opt-in compliance, and SLAs. And NodeSet aims to scale opportunities across ecosystems, L2 sequencing, ZK proving other L1s, and then governance partnerships. There's no plans for a token unless it adds real utility. This would be a long-term development. Public communication efforts are currently organic, may increase if validator saturation risks arise. Stakewise benefit is immutable contracts, means we have plenty of time to transition without disrupting operations. We can choose to upgrade every other Stakewise update, for example, and Lido integration possible if driven by customer demand. No current plans here. So that is to become a Lido permissioned node operator if they increase their set, and then those validators that would come into NodeSet could be divided out across the node operators on NodeSet. So yeah, if you are a NodeSet node operator, it's quite an exciting time, and it looks like a lot of cool stuff is happening there. There was also some talk about how to become a NodeSet node operator. Of course, you have to run a validator on mainnet for 6 months, and they will be checking the previous 3 months of activity and performance, and then there'll be a brief interview where they ask you some questions about who you are to make sure you're a real person, basically, and that will be showing your face on camera with Nick, most likely the co-founder of NodeSet. And with that, I think there might be some worries basically coming in about AI and people using deep fakes to make themselves look like something that they don't look like in order to become node operators. So it might be eventually that they just start doing onboarding in person instead of with an online interview, because this is a scary world out there now. Okay, let's move back to the Discord here. And there was also some talk about how NodeSet could potentially use Rocket Arb exit to try to get the discount and arb the discount. And non-fungible Joachim here has an idea. He says he can probably make a bundle through the Constellation admin safe that enables processing, processes a big chunk of minis, runs the arb, and then disables processing again. The trick is that getting the multi-sig signatures and execution done before the arb would fail on slippage. So there's ways of potentially doing exit arb, which would of course help Rocket Pool and NodeSet. It would help Rocket Pool by getting our ETH back to peg, and it would help NodeSet by giving them some ETH for a bunch of their validator exits, and it looks like they're exiting enough validators that it would help get our ETH back to peg, which of course is a good thing. Okay, and then here's the information. So sorry, I had these pages back to front. Wanda says we discovered a weird but potentially possible way to exit arb all the Constellation mini pools and bring our ETH back to peg. While we research this, the mini pool processing has been disabled for Constellation, which means that unprocessed node operator rewards can't be processed. Therefore, temporarily we have disabled all rewards processing while we look into this. On the plus side, if our efforts are successful, you will have all of your exited mini pools processed for you. If it turns out that we can't do this, it'll be re-enabled soon. Apologies for any inconvenience. So yeah, that's the update from there. And then finally, we have this information basically showing that the Stakewise vaults are increasing in TVL, and the Rocket Pool TVL is actually going down comparatively. But this is, Stakewise currently are around 320,000 ETH TVL, and Rocket Pool is around 660,000 ETH TVL. And with these hundreds of thousands of ETH that NodeSet are talking about coming online for Stakewise, it could be that Stakewise overtakes Rocket Pool in TVL in the coming months, unless we can drive some demand for our ETH, which I'm hoping we will be able to do. And in other staking news here, we have information about a client update, and this is Nethermind 1.31.9. So, you can update your smart node stack or whatever node management software you use to update to this version if you are running Nethermind, which is, I think, the #1 execution client now, which is pretty amazing to see. Actually, let me just have a look at that, because I haven't looked at client diversity in a while. Ethereum, and let's have a look. The Eth is at 41%, Nethermind is at 38%, somewhere around there within the margin of error. BSU at 16%, Aragon 3%, rETH at 2%. That is a really nice distribution. Ideally, BSU could get 10% more and 5%, and maybe rETH could get 10% more, and we could take 10% off each of Geth and Nethermind. That would be really, really great to see. It might be that after Pectra, some of the larger node operators might diversify their stake, but this is way, way, way healthier than what we were like a few months ago. So that's awesome. Okay, let's get to some Ethereum news now. And today is Thursday, so we had an all-core devs call, and Nixo here a couple of days ago had the agenda for this. So Nixo said that they're going to be talking that Pectra is scheduled, the client releases are out, Fosaka is mostly scoped as well. So will the all-core devs start talking about Glamsterdam, paralyzing development of multiple forks time is on track. So this is something that the all-core devs have been wanting to enact for a while, which is really getting the work moving faster on planning the next hard fork, which is awesome to see that Pectra isn't even live yet, and we've already mostly figured out what's going into Fosaka, not completely but mostly, and now we're already starting working on Glamsterdam. So here Pectra May 7th, we talked about that already. Fosaka, it says we have a clear list of the inclusions, EIPs scheduled for inclusion and considered for inclusion. So now it's time to begin implementation, and selected for inclusion things such as DevNets, and then the scope, cleanup, clarify EOF scope, and that, we're going to talk about that in a second. Then Fosaka, gas limit increase, ideal target, how to robustly test. We're going to be talking about that later. Find agreement between execution layer teams for config format. And with Glamsterdam, there's a meta EIP list, a meta EIP there. We'll have a new process beginning in Glamsterdam, and see more here. So Glamsterdam will be EIP 7773, and then there's links to information there. So this is awesome. People are already talking about Glamsterdam, which is really exciting. So it was only a little while after Nixo put out the agenda that we started seeing controversy on the forums. And here, Light Client basically said that I find a proposal from Vitalik to replace the EVM with RISC-V concerning. So this is what we talked about on Rocket Fuel on Monday, I think. This is there already proposals. We have not even shipped EOF, and there's already proposals to replace it. Here there was a reply saying for EOF, I'd like to pitch changing for option D. So there's already kind of like some spiciness about what is going into EOF, which was supposed to go in for Saka with PIADAS. And here in the Rocket Pool community, people were kind of listening along to the call, and Blue AVM said ACDE call is getting hot with RISC-V and EOF saga. And then people started sharing screenshots of the kind of chat that was happening, where people were talking about maybe dropping EOF. So this is a conversation that's been ongoing for a little while. But Vitalik was commenting here, Ansgar was commenting, and yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. So are we going to reconsider EOF? What's the process? Did we decide on Monday? Breakout to study the RISC-V or similar roadmap feasibility in more depth. Barnabas commented. We had Dankrad commenting, and a whole lot of other people were commenting here as well. So you could get into this discussion. Like I said, there was a whole lot going on. So some of it was kind of spicy, some of it was a bit back and forth. So if you want to follow that drama, definitely go and look at that. Okay, Spire here had a really, really great post that I absolutely loved today, talking about what makes an L2 more or less Ethereum. So there's this idea kind of that's been going around for a while, saying that L2s are Ethereum, rollups are Ethereum. And I think there's a little bit of pushback against that idea now, where people are saying, hey, maybe this isn't as Ethereum as we liked. And what does it mean to actually be Ethereum? So Spire here is a team working on based rollups. They put out this infographic of sorts that it's showing that there's 4 variables basically or qualities, that L2s have. That's settlement, where does the information, the proofs get posted, then there's data availability, there's sequencing, and there's execution. So for something to be called an L2, according to the Spire post, they need to settle their data on Ethereum. So what you're looking at here is something like Mega ETH. So that will be, posting its data to Ethereum, but sorry, not data, settling its the information to Ethereum, but its data will be going, I think, to EigenDA, and they'll be doing sequencing and execution themselves. Then you have something like a rollup, which is, what we see now with Arbitrum or Optimism or Base. So these have settlement on Ethereum. They also post their data in the form of blobs to Ethereum, and then in the future, once we have other variations of these, then their sequencing and execution, they manage it themselves. So for example, Base run their own sequencing and execution. They do that all in-house. Now with Based or Native, with Based, they will do settlement, DA, and sequencing on Ethereum, but they'll do their own execution. That's L1 node validators will be doing the sequencing as they're proposing blocks and slots, every slot. And with a native rollup, so they'll be doing settlement and data on Ethereum and execution on Ethereum, but the sequencing they'll be doing elsewhere. And then based and native rollups, so these are ones that have settlement, data, sequencing, and execution will all be on Ethereum. And according to this chart, this is just all Ethereum, basically all the values check the boxes. This is what Justin Drake recently described as an ultrasound rollup. So this is, I think, the best form of rollup that we can have in Ethereum. It's the most aligned, and it is the one that you could say this is Ethereum pretty much with total confidence. So I asked the question, I said, could you have a based and native rollup that doesn't use Ethereum DA? And then M-Team, who works with Spire, says you could be a native Validium with custom DA and modified base sequencing, but I do not believe this is realistic potential design. And I said, when do you think we'll get the first native and base rollups that are stage 2? and M-Team said, whenever Ethereum upgrades, hopefully 2026. I said, what upgrades do you need? He said, the native execution opcode. I said, how far along in development is it? Do we need pre-confs to get better too? And he says, there's no EIP for that yet, but hopefully we'll have one soon. And we don't need better pre-confs, but it would be helpful. So pre-confirmations is when you are on the rollup, you will send a transaction and you will get a confirmation saying that this is happened. The person who will be giving you that confirmation of it happening will have, a slashing risk, basically, if that's not included in the next block. And then that gets sent to Ethereum to be processed, in 12 seconds. But the pre-conf could be, as quickly as 100 milliseconds, I think, or even quicker than that, something around those kind of numbers. Mega ETH is doing pre-confs in 10 milliseconds, which is just lightning fastest real time, basically. Like, some you don't get pings that fast on on some video games when you're playing them online. So that's just like astonishingly fast. But of course, that is just an L2, not based in native rollup, but that's where the technology is heading towards. And it looks like, hopefully we'll have that in 2026 if everything goes well. That's like a year and a half max. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about the burn. There's not been much ETH burn happening. Gas is at 1 GUE and it's been quite low. In the last 7 days, we have had 18,000 ETH has been issued and 1,155 has been burned. So less than 10% of ETH issues has been burnt. So that's really low. And you might be thinking, hey, why is WAC talking about this? Well, one of the things that's been really interesting is, base fees have been down below 1 GUE. And gas on mainnet has been dirt cheap. You can get transactions through for 1 cent, which is astonishing that we have that. However, what's been really interesting over the last 7 days is that the average base fee for the blobs has been 10 GUE, and the blobs have burned 195 ETH. So if we look at the top burners of the last 7 days, you'll see that blobs are actually the #1 burner on Ethereum. Like ahead of contracts, ahead of all these other applications. Blobs have burned 195 ETH, and then there's a long tail of apps that have burned, other amounts of ETH along that period. Now, the reason why this is amazing is because this is kind of showing the thesis playing out a little bit, where we want blob burning to be happening in a way where blob fees on the L2s are still cheap. On the rollups are still cheap, but they're still burning ETH on mainnet. Now, this, as far as I know, is because of Abstract. I think they were burning a bunch of blob space a couple of days ago, and it looks like some of the Zora stuff that's happening is burning some as well. And there's just like uptake in rollup activity, which is leading to blob burning. Now, we don't actually need to burn. We don't need that much more growth for blob burning to become even more significant. So, the average fee going up a few GUE could lead to hundreds more ETH being burned. You just need one killer app to burn all the blob space, basically. And if you have, a couple of different rollups working well at the same time, you will see that, that it's working really, really well. So the blob fee burning could potentially get really high really quickly. So definitely keep an eye on these numbers. Blob fees being the top burner, I think is really, really interesting. And I really want to see that number, become ultrasound. So I want us to see us burning, a couple of thousand ETH a day from blob fees. That would be amazing. But, Pectra is coming and the blob fee, the blob target goes up, so it might be a few weeks where we don't see any burn again as people get used to the more capacity, and then hopefully we'll be burning ETH again very, very quickly with that. But this is really interesting. Like, I really think that one killer app on the rollup, or a couple of killer apps on the rollup, and blob fees alone will cause ETH to be deflationary. And I don't think too many people are paying attention to that. And I'm really excited about that. So I'll definitely keep an eye on it. Another person who's really excited about that is Ryan Berkmans, and he is saying that Blob's burned an annual rate of $67 million worth of ETH, that's in one day, or 3.1 basis points of ETH supply. So he says, as far as I can tell, this can grow 30x to Blob buyers paying a total of 1% ETH supply per year, with 48 Blob target in Fusaka, and keeping median full rollups user a fee less than 1 cent. So it says few know this. So this is the key number, right? Like how many transactions can we get through where, we're getting through our 1 cent, and how much ETH can that burn? So here with Ryan saying that you can get burning 1% of the whole of the ETH supply and rollups still using 1 cent transactions in Fusaka, that would be absolutely amazing. And in Fusaka we'll have PDAS, which is a version of full data availability, something that will let us really upscale the blob amounts that we'll have. Some of the comments here are really interesting. It says, this is counting on huge growth, but it's better than nothing. It could take a decade to 30x. Start to focus on here and now, how native rollups and base rollups. And I said, you just need one killer app and it'll all get taken up pretty much. If you have a pump fund on or something like that on the rollup, it could be using, thousands of transactions a second, all being sub-cent would be so amazing. So I really think that a lot of people are kind of like sleeping on this. C note here says, I guarantee that everyone will stop losing the shit once blob revenue becomes substantial, which is downstream from L2 usage blowing up. And other people are a bit less hopeful. DeFi Moon says it certainly can, but it most likely won't. If the market really believed that ETH wouldn't be underperforming BTC in such a hideous way. Robinson says Blob's paying for the cost of security via ETH burn is a beautiful thing, and I think that's a beautiful thing as well. And I'm not saying that we should just focus on the Blob burning to make ETH ultrasound. I have been convinced that we should be scaling the L1 as well and really making L1 the home of DeFi, so people can use the L1 at very cheap transaction fees, like on the cents, instead of in the dollars or even hundreds of dollars as I paid before for transactions on Ethereum. What we need to see is that people will want to use Ethereum, but also people can then go to rollups and pay less fees for what they want to do. And of course, we really want to see those rollups being ultrasound rollups, because that's when they have the best synergy with Ethereum, and that's when we can say these are fully Ethereum, which is definitely what we want. Okay, talking about rollups that might be doing really cool things, here Nethermind have given some information about what they're doing, and so it said real decentralization with GigaGas. So they have the Surge testnet is live in stage 2. It's a base rollup template showcasing trustless scaling true to Ethereum principles. That's 1 gigagas per second capacity via Nethermind client on a fully open source stack you can use today. It says get started now, add to your wallet, bridge Hoodi ETH, and start experimenting. They've got docs, they've got information. So here they said they're providing a template for trustless operation and liveness. Surge is a stage 2 from the beginning without any dependency on security councils or governance. Code is law. There's no tier proving system, and it's fully trustless with blocks finalized once proven without a challenge period. So this is based, so they're building on the Tyco stack, and the problem is that they don't have the pre-confs at the moment, so they need to activate those to make the activity a lot faster, because right now it's taking 12 seconds, which for a rollup is really slow. Like you want it to be sub-second ideally, like 2 seconds at the absolute most. But the throughput here is truly astonishing. Like on Ethereum right now we have 36 million gas, while Nethermind are pushing clients that are capable of 1,000 gas. So it's a good 30x more capacity than Ethereum, which is absolutely fantastic. And that of course would be burning blobs like nobody's business. I think currently we don't have the blob capacity, obviously, like in the current paradigm to burn that much, to accommodate that much gas, but with Fusaka we will have that. So yeah, this is a really cool idea. There was some discussion about how feasible this is or isn't right now, like what some of the shortcomings and how it would work. but the idea is fantastic. So Erickson here, who works with Tyco, says excited to see the first neutral stage 2 rollup live on testnet. This is a trustless multi-prover, no instant upgrade multisig, gigagas throughput, uses L1 sequencing, all built on the Tyco based rollup stack. I really want Tyco to get to stage 2. I was really excited about Tyco when it launched, thinking that it was going to be closer to stage 2, but sadly that wasn't a reality. But the sooner these guys get to stage 2, the better it is. Okay, there's this idea that's being pushed around about getting Ethereum gas to 150 million gas for Fusaka. So there's the idea of a new IP where people want to do testing on this idea, and you'll see that there's a bunch of really big Ethereum researcher names on this. So they're saying that EIP aims to test gas limits up to 150 million gas across various execution layer and consensus layer combinations on devnets, with the goal of identifying bugs and recommending new safe gas limits for the Fusaka release. So this is really, really exciting to see. But there's going to be a lot of testing, I think, that goes into this, because we want to make sure that we keep home node operators online, and home validators keep going, and also that the clients are all communicating with each other. Okay, it looks like Nethermind is set for it, but let's make sure all the others are as well. And this would basically 5x Ethereum throughput with the Fusaka upgrade. So there's the real scaling coming to Ethereum in the very near future. Like Fusaka is due potentially for like November time this year on a loose time frame, and we're getting very close to some really, really big things coming in Fusaka. It just being a huge boost in Ethereum scalability across the L1 and across the L2. So yeah, this is really, really cool stuff. Like I said, it's so early that we don't even have EIP number for it yet, but there's going to be a lot of work going on this, so definitely going to keep my eyes open for this one. Okay, one of the big controversies over the last few days was this Zora airdrop. So Jesse of Base was kind of shilling using Zora with his content coins last week, and then just as that was getting kind of hypey, Zora said they're going to release a token, and people just like, what on earth is going on here? It felt really scammy. Jesse came out and said that he didn't know that they were going to have their token generation event, and it has been hinted at. Their token generation had been hinted at from before, but yeah, you can take that however you want, but the reality is that it looked kind of sketch. Now what's really interesting is, like, in their last round, Zora raised a $600 million valuation, and the token launch didn't go that well, and I think it's running at like a $200 million valuation, and people are just like, the VCs kind of got burned on that. So there's this whole discussion that's going on about VC coins and how they might be all going to zero, and that's a really interesting discussion. There was a couple of podcasts between Hasib from Dragonfly and Guat that kind of talked about these points back and forth, so check that out if you're interested. Okay, last week on Rocket Fuel, I covered news of ZKsync, their community unclaimed airdrop token vault getting hacked and the tokens getting drained out of there. Well, ZKsync had an update here saying that the hacker has cooperated and returned the funds within the safe harbor deadline. As stated in the original Security Council message, the case is now considered resolved. So they kept 10% and they gave back 90% of tokens to ZK, and like they said, they consider it resolved, and they thank all the people who helped with the getting this sorted out, and yeah, it's all done. So it's a positive. It's a positive in this situation, because obviously it's not nice when millions of dollars worth of tokens go missing, and thankfully there's a positive resolution. It's really interesting though about what kind of criminal charges might be able to come to the hacker. And what, just because ZK don't want to press charges, like, would governments be able to press charges? We've not really seen that happen. There's this idea in crypto that, hey, if you give 10% back, we'll just call it quits. But I don't think it's really been tested about whether or not the governments will just let you do that. I think that's something that I really should find out about, but definitely this is a positive outcome. So good job for the ZK community. Okay, and last but not least, Anthony Sassano, like, we miss him. So I saw this tweet of his and it was really cool. So I thought I'm going to cover this on Rocket Fuel. You might have seen this ETH Strategic Reserve before, and I know that Sassano's covered it on the Daily Gwei. But this is actually a really cool website that not enough people know about. It's showing all the different protocols in Ethereum and just how much ETH that they have. And here, according to this, the total ETH strategic reserve is 546,000 ETH. So you'll see things like Ethereum Foundation with 250,000 ETH, Gollum Foundation with 100,000 ETH, the US government potentially holding 53,000 ETH, Lido got 38,000 ETH, Ethereum Name Service with 34,000 ETH, and a whole lot more. So these are just like the biggest DAOs and how much ETH they're actually holding. It's really, really cool to see that, there's so many of these companies, so many of these protocols are holding ETH as part of their treasuries. And of course, they're built on Ethereum, so it kind of makes sense that they are holding their ETH. But it's really nice to like pay attention to it sometimes and just realize how much ETH are held in the hands of these protocols that are built on Ethereum and extremely Ethereum aligned. And hopefully this number will just get bigger and bigger as some of these protocols got bigger, as we get new protocols coming online that raise good amounts of ETH and they want to hold it. That would be really exciting. Anyway, on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocketfuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.